always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to your real fortune. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. According to Nigel Pennick's The Pagan Book of Days, the 5th of February is St. Agatha's Day. He writes, and I quote, "St. Agatha is an aspect of the goddess known to the Romans as Fortuna. February 5th is especially potent for fortune-telling and all forms of divination." Unquote. Making your real fortune this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Natalie Imbruglia, Torn, and Elton John, and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. In the 1990 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay, published by D.C. Thompson and Company, was this, and I quote, "Two men were walking down a country lane deep in discussion. They decided to take a shortcut through a field of cattle, and they forgot to shut the gate. Luckily, no harm was done, because one of them remembered and ran back to close it before any of the animals could escape. He said he had recalled what an old gentleman had said to him many years before. As you travel down life's pathway, remember to close the gates behind you." What he meant, of course, is that life is never straightforward. We make mistakes and experience problems and heartache, and we're bound to meet those who seem intent on making life difficult for us. But we shouldn't allow these things to master us. Once we have done all we can do to put things right, we should close the gate on it and put the incident behind us. It was Socrates who said, "Remember that no human condition is ever permanent. Thus, you will not be overjoyed in good fortune, nor too sorrowful in misfortune." Unquote. Francis Gay, in the 1990 edition of his Friendship Book. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Nelly Furtado with Keith Urban, In God's Hands, and Chantal Kreviazuk with All I Can Do. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. On the 5th of February 2010, a day that might be good for divining your future. In a very old encyclopedia was this, and I quote, "Certain fortune-telling methods began in Europe hundreds of years ago. For example, such objects as a coin, a ring, and a thimble were baked into a cake or other food. It was believed that the person who found the coin in the cake would become wealthy. The one who found the ring would marry soon, but the person who got the thimble would never get married." Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Gerry Rafferty, Right Down the Line. Leona Lewis, Happy, and Justin Timberlake, and What Goes Around, Comes Around. and I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. So, do you think your future is set in stone or changeable? Louis L'Amour in The Walking Drum, published by Bantam, wrote, and I quote, "Up to a point, a man's life is shaped by environment, heredity, and changes in the world about him. Then there comes a time when it lies within his grasp to shape his life into the sort of thing he wishes it to be. Only the weak blame parents, their race, their times, lack of good fortune, or the quirks of fate. Everyone has it within his power to say, 'This I am today, that I will be tomorrow.'" Louis L'Amour in The Walking Drum, published by Bantam. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Deborah Cox and Beautiful You Are, and David Cook with The Time of My Life. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. A Day for Divination. On Midsummer Eve, hen eggs were broken to see what one's fortune would be. And this according to an old encyclopedia. The Nikko is a famous Japanese temple where 3 snow-white horses are kept for purposes of divination. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Lady Antebellum and Need You Now. The Beatles with Norwegian Wood and Michael Murphey and Wildfire. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. And this from the Reader's Digest edition, Why in the World? And I quote, "It is said that Christopher Columbus and his crew, during their voyage to the New World in 1492, believed that sharks following their vessel were an omen of disaster. During one particularly fierce storm, Columbus calmed his anxious men by tossing a pack of playing cards into the sea, a custom aimed at quelling the terrifying waves." Soothsayers and oracles of one kind or another were never far from the courts of English royals, who were often swayed by superstition. King Henry VIII was convinced that Anne Boleyn's witchcraft had trapped him into falling in love. He had her beheaded. Elizabeth I retained a magician, John Dee, to help her plan her future. His magic stone rests in the British Museum. Unquote. Again, from this Reader's Digest edition, called Why in the World Was This? Britain's King Edward VII, who reigned from 1901 to 1910, was extremely superstitious, refusing ever to either have his bed turned or the linen replaced on a Friday. "If you change your sheets on a Friday," says an old belief, "the devil has control of your dreams for a week. Unquote. Military leaders have been known to be a superstitious bunch. Consider Dwight D. Eisenhower. Again, from this Reader's Digest collection, and I quote, "He is reported to have had great faith in a gold coin he carried in his pocket." Unquote. And in this troubled economy, his would be a prudent idea. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.